Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sport. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Welcome back, everyone. Our guest today is Maurice F. Martin, and we have been discussing how healing past hurts can be the foundation for fulfillment and purpose. And so we spoke about his new book, Your Butt is Too Big. and then we talked about the principles behind his process, and about identifying that butt that leaves people unhealed. And again, he just dropped so much that I was like, whoo, and just this whole thing about hope, because you're absolutely right in terms of hope keep us out of the moment. It keeps things so far away from us. And that's why people can feel anxious, because they put it out in front of them instead of looking at what it is that they desire, whatever it is that they desire, that they're having a piece of it right now. Mm-hmm. And so if they keep looking at it from that perspective, that they have a bit of that desire right now, and it's continuing to unfold in the moment and not always leaving it out to the future. So I love that. And I'm pretty sure the audience is like, bing, bing, bing. So thank you again for that. And so your message is beginning to spread, outside the U.S. And so tell us about your recent virtual presentation that you did for RSA, South Africa, to the people who do not know RSA.
Yeah, it's been such a journey over the last few months of my life. Just getting a chance to spread that hope, right? Not only within the States, but also, I had a chance to speak virtually, at least in South Africa. And, I did a summit that was all about gratitude. And gratitude and hope, they really walk hand in hand. Learning how to be grateful for what you've been through in life. And so one thing that you find is this. When you walk across walk across country boundaries or political boundaries or racial boundaries or socioeconomic boundary, I don't care what the boundary is, we all just want to find peace, joy, and happiness. There's things about all people that we just want to experience.
Yes.
And that common denominator, when you begin to speak to people and you look into their eyes and you realize, oh, you've been thirsting for the same thing I have. You have been searching for the same type of peace, the same type of joy. Then you realize that your life is so much bigger than you, and yet the role that you are able to play in that life is limitless. And I just love that, and I hope that that empowers somebody else. One thing I tell people a lot, and I hope somebody really hears me today, when you begin to heal your life, you find out that you are the answer to someone else's prayer. And all that I mean by that is that there's somebody waiting for the best version of you to emerge and go do the great things you were born to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was about to say praise. All right. Okay. I mean, but just touching back on, this thing about, because sometimes as Westerners, we can just be so consumed in the Western life and think that our experience is unique to us. But as you spoke, people around the world, they all have the same desires, and it's to have peace and happiness and feel the joy and be able to support their families, their communities, and all of this. And so we really do need to broaden our perspective. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about travel, is because I get to understand the perspectives of how people live And that helped me to better to react to situations that I find in my life. So that has definitely been something. So I'm really happy you had that ability to be able to start spreading your wings, outside of the U.S. But let's talk briefly about the Grace Factor podcast. Can you share with the listeners a bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. Podcasting is something I will call it newer for me, a newer world. And Grace Factor, we have one season that's out, and I'm a Christian, so a lot of that podcast is specifically about what is a Christian journey really like for a person, like imperfectly, right? Like not the pomp and circumstance of what sometimes people feel like that can turn them off or make them feel like they'll never be good enough to walk in their faith. But it's more of a holistic, real, healthy look at what does it look like to be a man of faith. And then actually this year, so I'm actually in the process of filming a new podcast right now.
Well, we were going to get to that, but that's because you just sort of flew past it. So the Grace Factor podcast is from the perspective of men.
Yes.
So I that's why I want to tease that out. Like how men from the man's eye,
Real guys,
So yeah.
real guys and real issues, right? What people will like about that podcast is my co-host Rob and we are honest. Okay, so a lot of guys, what they do is they like to put off a false bravado, right? I don't ever have no problems. I ain't never scared of nothing. I don't ever have no issues. Okay, that's you. Okay, that is not me.
Man, look under the bed.
Like I get scared sometimes. I get freaked out. I get frustrated. I get angry. I trip sometimes. I'm imperfect. And so what we do is we get so honest with ourselves that you don't feel like you have to be phony. We get so real in our conversations about how we're doubting ourselves and how we're finding real courage. I don't mean the fake courage where you walk in the room because you pumped yourself up for 20 minutes, went in, shouted, and you had your heart racing when you leave. I mean real, healthy courage. And so a lot of that podcast, I think people will really relate to it. And women, there's women who listen to it too, and they get something out of it because they're getting a glimpse.
Right. They want to hear the unspoken story.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, for the fellas, you will really enjoy the podcast because you will learn how to be a person of faith. And it's not necessarily cheesy, how to be a person of faith, and it's just real, raw, healthy lifestyle. I'm not going to it's everything I've been talking about. I can't let my emotions run me. Right? And so the only thing, if I'm a person of faith, is that I run my fears through my faith. I say, well, what does God say instead of what does my fear say? That's the big lesson in it. That's the big lesson.
And a lot of times fears are sometimes there to let us know that we're onto something. And sometimes it's there, maybe, because I think it's trying to protect you. And so you really have to go into your unconscious mind and address that fear. But again, I mean, I think this particular podcast can resonate with so many of our listeners. So I did not want to just breeze by that. So now let's start talking about the new podcast that you're launching.
Absolutely, and you're right, and I think you are right that people did have to hear that, and it's more than just fear that people face, right? There's a lot of other things that are what are unmentionables, right? So the new podcast is called Hope Rising, and it actually has not launched. It launches next month, but we've already filmed 5 of the episodes, and it has just been incredible. So far, I've been speaking to one of them is an Olympian. I have a couple celebrity chefs. We have talked to just people who are out there who are movers and shakers. But Hope Rising is not just, oh, have you done amazing things? Hope Rising is, what have you been through that you had to rise above? And so we get honest and deep about these conversations because I think so many, again, successful people, and what is successful to me, right? Well, it's not really about what your profession is, right? You can be a mom with 4 kids and you're managing your household and you're doing that's success, right? So I'm not putting success in a box. But a successful person often needs to know you're not the only one struggling. You're not the only one having tough times. And so I like to have candid conversations where a person takes off the mask of here's all my success. I'm the power CEO. I'm the amazing president. You put it down and you say, okay, now what have you really been through? What has really hurt you? What has really scarred you? What made you you? And don't just tell me tenacity, because that's not real. It was tenacity that you had because you needed to overcome something. What did you need the tenacity for? And that is really the premise of Hope Rising.
Woo. All right. Well, Maurice, so again, I'm pretty sure that our listeners are so engaged in this conversation and they want to contact you. So where can they find you? Website, email, and if you can spell it out. And again, when we share the broadcast, they'll be able to also find other ways to connect with you if they don't catch it. But please allow our listeners to find a way to contact with you.
Absolutely. If they're not too scared now, because you sound scared. So if somebody wants to link up with me, they can find me at mauricefmartin.com. Or they can go any social media. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm there at Maurice F. Martin. And one thing I tell people, don't hesitate to just jump on and ask me a question, or this is what I've been struggling with. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation that you can get to from mauricefmartin.com. So you can go there. I can have a conversation with you. It's free of charge. And I just try to make a difference and help people. So that's the best way to find me if you need me.
Fantastic. And so before we go, what message would you like to leave with any of our listeners who are experiencing pain and darkness in their life right now?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to tell you thank you. Not only for this great conversation, but we had a pre-convo that was excellent where you poured into me a lot, and I truly appreciated it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And to everyone else, I would just say, if you have been struggling, if you've been having hard times, I want you to know that you're not stuck there. You don't have to be there for the rest of your life. Yes, maybe you've been there all day, all week, all month, all year. But let's talk about the hope of a tomorrow where you can experience something new and something different. Believe that it's possible, know that it's possible, and then begin to do work once a day, once a week, so that you can get that new progress to emerge. It's in you. It just has to come out of you. And that would be what I'd have to say to everybody.
All right, everyone. Be sure to go to www.mauricefmartin.com. Reach out to Maurice, schedule a complimentary call with him, and come into the light and get ready to heal. So we're going to move into a commercial break. And again, thank you so much, Maurice, for being here today. And again, thank you for the value that you are providing to so many people.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Up Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.